Hello, everyone, and welcome to our August edition of MultiCloud Happenings. Suzanne and I are so excited to have our special guest, Megaport, with us today about connecting to the cloud. So we hope that you find this information very exciting, and will help you make your successful or more successful when it comes to a multi-cloud solution. My name is Tammy Bednar, and I focus on our Exadata database services and our base database services as well. And of course, my co-host is Suzanne Holliday. Hey, Suzanne.
Hey, Tammy. Hey, everybody.
And we also, as I said, our special guest from Megaport, we have Sherlock Doris. Hey, Sherlock, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Very pleased to be on this session. I'm responsible for the relationship between Megaport and Oracle as the Cloud Alliance Director in EMEA, based out of London.
Excellent. And then also Gary Taylor. Gary, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the invite. Gary Taylor, Solution Architect based in Belgium. I'm a technical resource for anything cloud or Megaport related.
Awesome. Okay, so you can see we have a really exciting lineup with a lot of different specialists. So before we get into it with Megaport, we just want to remind everybody about what multi-cloud happenings is. And so Suzanne, you want to take us through some of the flexible architectures that we talk about when it comes to multi-cloud solutions?
Yeah, sure. Tammy, can you just bring up all the visuals on the slide? That would be great. Thanks. Okay, so before we always start, we always define what we believe is a full stack architecture and what a split stack architecture is. So everybody's on the same page as we are, and especially for this session today, because it's so prevalent, because either would be possible when connecting the clouds with Megaport. So when we're talking about a full stack application, this is whereby we've got a complete full stack. In this case, on the left, you can see we've got an e-business suite application talking to an Exadata database cloud service database on OCI, and that is then speaking with another full stack in the third-party cloud. So what we do is we're having two full stacks speaking with each other, because we need to ensure that it's one workload with two stacks intercommunicating, because they could well have, for example, data integration between the applications. And this is often seen, for example, where we've got data pipelines usage and batch processing. And this kind of architecture obviously has to have a sound network in between, and but when it comes down to, let's say, batch processing, it's not sensitive to the network latency. So that's some, let's say, leniency we have there. And then another example we could have would be like real-time stream processing, with low latency network connectivity as well. Now, on the other model that we have, the split stack application, this is where we have one workload split across two separate clouds, whereby where we have the application running in one cloud and the database on OCI with the Oracle database cloud services. So this is where we have mixed use cases. For example, we could have, again, analytics in a third-party cloud, whereby you have data lake talking to an Oracle backend database running on OCI. Or maybe you want to have some kind of, agnostic kind of portable architecture and use Kubernetes, for example, in the third-party cloud provider, connecting to a backend Oracle database. Now, in this architecture, it's imperative that we have low latency and very high throughput for the network connectivity in order to achieve the application performance required. So with that, I'll hand over to you, Tammy.
Thanks. Thank you, Suzanne. Yes, of course. All right. So we talked about the architectures and the solutions when we are referring to multi-cloud. But the other thing I want to talk to you about and remind you all of our database cloud services, in case you're not familiar with them. We have on the left our autonomous database solution in the cloud. It's the easiest database cloud solution because it has a lot of automation in it to reduce all the manual tasks that you may have to perform as a DBA. Now, on the autonomous database, it can be shared, or I forgot to change this slide again. It should be called serverless. So we've changed our name with our autonomous service. So instead of shared, it's called serverless. And then the other part is you can also run autonomous database in a dedicated Exadata solution as well in the cloud. So it's fully managed, and being fully managed and all the automation, it eliminates a lot of human error and labor. And it works for any load, and we can scale to any kinds of workload and criticality of that workload as well. Then moving over to the right, we have our Exadata database service. And it's the most flexible. And the Exadata database service offers a dedicated Exadata. And what that means is all the hardware that you allocate or provision in the cloud is only for your workloads. Nobody else shares that hardware. Now, it is co-managed by Oracle. And what we mean by that is that Oracle maintains the infrastructure pieces, provides all the patching, and then you manage the VMs and the databases, and then of course the data, of course, which is the most critical part of the business, of course. But you have full administrative control, and it runs all workloads that you can think of, enterprise, small workloads as well. And Exadata database service is fantastic for consolidation. And then finally, we have our base database service. It's more of our traditional database service, which is VMs running on shared compute. It is also a co-managed service because we provide the updates to the service, and then you can apply them. And you have full administrative control. It has all database features, including Oracle RAC as well. So you can run single instance and RAC databases within the base database service. So I hopefully that puts everybody on the same page. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Gary or Sherlock. I forgot who was going first. So turn it over to you guys.
I will.
Okay, thanks, Sherlock.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Suzanne. And thank you, Oracle, for allowing us to participate in this particular section. So Gary, if you can just hit
I'm just bear with me.
No problem.
Yeah. Right.
Awesome.
Okay, great. So the introductions, I think we've already been through, so I wouldn't spend any more time on those. What we're going to do today, sorry, no, Gary, just the introduction line item. Go back one, please. What we're going to do today is we're going to cover a brief overview of Megaport. We're going to look at the partnership relationship between Megaport and Oracle. And then we're going to take you into the connectivity model, which is part of our network as a service element. And then Gary's going to take you through some use case examples that look at various architecture types and the services that are delivered across those architectures. And then we'll look at a specific element of Megaport and Oracle cooperation, whereby we've integrated our services into the Oracle console. Gary will present a demonstration on that just to show you how easy it is to work from within the Oracle console and configure services from a Megaport platform. And then we'll touch on some Q&A at the end. Next slide, please, Gary. So who's Megaport and what do we do? So Megaport is actually a network as a service provider. We wanted to, in 2013, when the company was launched, we wanted to make it simple and cohesive with where the cloud model was. And fundamentally, what that meant was we needed to find a way to easily provision services, to make those services be seen as a pay-as-you-use type service. So no over-provisioning, no need to wait for 3 or 6 months for network services to be provisioned. Customers can literally plug and play, configure their services from a Megaport perspective within 60 minutes, and are able to connect to any of the public hyperscalers. So that was our mantra. We wanted to make sure that customers can consume cloud easily, safely, and securely without having to worry via the normal traditional telco would. We work with leading service providers. Oracle is a primary partner of ours, and we do a lot of things together. And later on, I'll show you some of the achievements that we've jointly acquired. So who do we connect? We connect to enterprises, so customers looking to leverage cloud from their own enterprise locations. We work with cloud service providers. We work with data center operators, and also network service providers. We currently enable customers to connect to a network from at least 800 locations globally. So we try to scale to the magnitude that allows customers a very short interconnect into our network, a private network, and then we deliver those endpoints into Oracle OCI to allow customers to consume privately, seamlessly, and securely services that are on the OCI platform. Next slide, please, Gary. The ecosystem. So we roughly have, that number keeps changing. We're probably closer to 3,000 customers now. And we reach those customers from 150 plus unique data center operators, which gives us around 800 enabled sites. The reason for doing that is because we wanted to de-risk our customers. So we didn't choose one operator, we didn't choose 10 operators. We chose multiple data center operators across the globe, delivering a service that is consistent with the type of quality that we require. And by doing so, we're able to provide resilient operations. We're able to provide customers with alternative paths if there's a particular problem with a data center, and generally just a robust solution to everything that they're looking for. Our unique value proposition is based around scalability and demand. So you provision what you need, you upscale or downscale as is appropriate. We allow cloud-to-cloud connectivity without any physical presence of routing devices. And Gary will be more specific around that later when he talks about our MCR product. And we offer that in a private and secure SDN global backbone. So customers can hop onto a backbone, and once they're on that backbone, they can consume services wherever they want at the other end. Some customers are even using us literally just to link data centers from one continent to the next securely. We offer flexible terms from a commercial perspective, so customers are not locked in. They're able to contractually link with us in the most efficient way to their particular business operations. And, you know, we work with 4,000 plus service providers, of which Oracle is a primary provider. Next slide, Gary. Yeah, if you can just bring everything up, so it's a lot easier to deal with. So just in a short, why Oracle and Megaport? Global private connectivity backbone. We're independent of DCs. So increased reliability and performance. We allow for direct provisioning of Megaport services from within the Oracle portal. Gary will demonstrate that later. We extend our reach to 800 plus globally enabled locations. That number is going to ramp up very soon because we're doing an additional service which will just allow us to get much closer to additional customers globally. We currently link with Oracle in 26 locations across the globe. That means that people can generally get onto a backbone with with a short connection and be able to provide services across multiple geos. Flexible term contracts, as we mentioned earlier, and everything is access to OCI privately and securely. The last two items are items probably for another session, but I just wanted to make it be known that we do provide integrated SD-WAN solutions from the leading SD-WAN providers, which will allow customers to leverage Cisco, Fortinet, VMware, Versa, and Aruba on our platforms via our edge devices. We can set up a separate service for that. We can also talk around firewall as a service, which is deployed across Fortinet, Versa, and Palo Alto. Again, these are just literally dropping licenses onto our platform that will then enable customers to leverage those services from wherever they are. So again, the mantra is to contract with one organization and deliver services across multiple disciplines. Next slide, Gary. Yeah, so just a summary of the partnership highlights. So we're an OCN partner, 26 global fast connect on ramps. We have, the last time I checked, that was 788 fast connections globally. And we do that from around 800 enabled data centers. We support multiple architectures, some of the ones that are relevant here. It's a hybrid split stack, multi-cloud, and the cloud to cloud. What we're seeing with cloud to cloud connections is that 68% of our customers terminate on a public cloud. 45% of those customers are connecting to multiple clouds. So, and I must say, Oracle was one of the first hyperscalers that we worked with that were transparent around the cloud to cloud. They appreciated the fact that no customers generally want multiple applications, not necessarily from the same provider, because they maybe want to diversify. So that was an adoption from Oracle from day one. And part of the demonstration that Gary is going to show is how we've actually integrated the two companies to deliver that in a sleek and effective manner. Next slide, Gary. We've got some resources, some links to some resources which further demonstrates our partnership. And currently we serve roughly 291 enterprise customers leveraging our services for Oracle. That number is on the up. And I think if we look at year-on-year expansion, it's roughly 20% over the last 12 months, 20% growth. And the initiatives that we now have in place are actually allowing us to even increase that further. So some good reference documents there, which we can share, obviously, as part of this presentation. Next slide, Gary. This is a geographical representation of where we currently locate and where customers can literally jump onto an Oracle on-ramp and get to where they need to get to consume services. Next slide. That was the end of my presentation. I'm going to pass you over to Gary Taylor now, who's going to talk you through Megaport connectivity models and the rest of the agenda.
Thanks, Sherlock. So what I'm going to do is run through a high-level summary of our portfolio. Essentially, this slide covers it. I've got a couple of use cases then on how you can actually connect into OCI Fast Connect, and then I'll go into the OCI portal and actually build some of the services that I've been talking about in the various use cases. So quick summary of the portfolio. As part of the access portfolio, the first option here is a Megaport. This is essentially a physical edge device sitting in about 420 DCs with maybe coverage in about 800 locations. And what this means is that you would rent capacity on our network. You do that through ordering a Megaport, and then typically you would be as close as possible to that Megaport location, that data center, and you would then order a cross connect from the data center provider. A cross connect is a basic bit of fiber, and the DC provider would plug that into your equipment or the telco, and they'd plug that into Megaport. And you would be connected, so you could in theory get 200 gig diverse redundant access into Megaport within 1 or 2 days. From there, what you would then do is you could build up to 100 VLANs, or virtual cross connects we call it, and those VLANs would give you access into Oracle, into other cloud providers. You can connect into IX, Marketplace, and Marketplace is just it's a location where customers have chosen to make their ports public and their services public with Megaport, and you would connect to them. You can also connect to them privately. You can do that through a service key. And from there, essentially it's an NNI connection. And obviously you can also connect privately to other parts of your own Megaport network. So you could be in Europe, you might have a Megaport deployment in the US, Miami, and it's simply a matter of 2-3 clicks and you're then live and connected into that other location. Not just Megaports, other part of services as well. It's worth knowing that the VLAN or VXCs that I talk about, there's no contract. It's charged hourly. So you can scale up 10 gig of capacity or bandwidth and then delete the service, and we'd charge you for that 1 hour. Everything I talk about is fully API driven. So we've got a lot of automation built into the backend of Megaport. And obviously you can extend that through API into your own infrastructure. We support Terraform as well. So if you need to automate delivery of services via CLI, you could do that through Terraform without any complications. The whole Megaport service, it sits on a MPLS core. We don't buy the MPLS network from a telco. We actually run our own optics, our own transmission equipment. So we capacity manage our services ourselves. And it's 100 gig core, typically with 400 gig in key locations. The VLAN element I talk about is obviously fully protected. So we would reroute the traffic if there's a failure, and it chooses the next fastest path. That's by default and by design. So moving on to the MCR or Megaport Cloud Router. This is a layer 3 virtual routing instance. This allows you to create very high performance, low cost cloud to cloud connectivity, as well as cloud to on-prem. So it's BGP only. It's not a firewall. If you need bespoke configurations or you need to secure services per subnet, we then have the virtual edge service, which I'll talk about later on. From that MCR, you can then build 25 VLANs. You can obviously connect into Oracle and other clouds, not IX. You can connect into Marketplace, and obviously you can connect into other parts of your own Megaport infrastructure. We then have MVE or Megaport Virtual Edge. This is virtualized compute in about 26 locations around the world. It's based on CPU capacity, so 2 core up to 12 core. We also provision IP transit or an internet breakout service that is dual IP transit, so 2 redundant connections, and it's fully DDoS protected as well. So within that, we obviously allow you to choose your SD-WAN vendor. So the most common will be vendors like Fortinet, FortiGate, Cisco. What was the old Viptela? You deliver that through vManage. If you want to run your own C8K or C8000V image, you can do that in an autonomous mode. So if you've got very bespoke routing requirements, you can actually stand up your MVE, deliver the service, and then actually delete the IP transit. And you've got a very bespoke Cisco image sitting wherever it is in the world you need to deploy the service. From there, you can deploy 24 VLANs. So obviously one of the VLANs is deployed for the transit. And obviously you can connect into the same number of services. So cloud, IX, Marketplace, and private as well. So running through some of the use cases, the first, probably most common one would be delivering a redundant fast connect into Oracle. Here, what we've got is 2 geo-diverse Megaport locations. You stand up your Megaport 1, we call it, and that would connect into, say, region 1. And obviously here you've got 2 physically diverse entry points into that region, and that would connect back to a dynamic routing gateway, DRG. And then we mirror that into region 2 as well. So what this does, it provides obviously overall customer site failure. It protects against the ports failing, it protects against the cross connects. And that's probably the most common faults we see, SFPs burning out. And obviously this provides that protection. And overall, it provides element of redundancy for the actual building as well. So you could be across metro, cross country, or across the world, and this service in principle can be deployed in that manner. And then you're protecting your entry points into Oracle as well with 2 separate fast connect essentially devices on their side. Standard deployments, probably the most common fast connect OCI deployments that we have. We then have a second use case, and this is for typically cloud to cloud migrations. So if you need to move data from one cloud to the other, You can do that through the MCR. We offer an option of hourly billing, so no contract. And here you would, typically I think a 10 gig might give you about 7 petabytes of data transfer in a month. You can quite easily work out how much capacity you need, what VLAN capacity you need into various cloud providers, and how long you need to actually do the migration. So it's not just about migrations, and quite common, probably the most common scenario we see is that customers consume multiple clouds. So you might have a front end sitting in Azure or in GCP that talks to an Oracle backend, and maybe you're doing dev or testing work out of another cloud, like say AWS. They can all run through the MCR, and there's a fair amount of obviously configuration within that device for a lot of control on that service as well. We then look at the last use case, and here we've got a customer or potential where there is a requirement to deploy multi-cloud as well as on-prem, so a hybrid cloud type model. What you do is you build your Megaport on-prem, connect back to your equipment. You then can build your MCR. That could be locally, it could be in the same metro, it could be across a region. And then from that MCR, you would build your fast connect into the DRG, and then onto the VCN, the virtual cloud network, sitting within the Oracle cloud infrastructure. Obviously, these VLANs are fully protected and diverse, but if you needed to provide redundancy, then you would mirror that in exactly the same format. And then later on, or whenever it may be, because it's real-time deployment, you then actually deliver access into the other cloud providers. Within that MCR, there's a fair amount of control. We offer AS path prepending. So if you need to manipulate the traffic and the routes, you can do that. We support BFD for quick failover, med values as well, and route filtering. So if you want to, say, limit all your Oracle advertised prefixes to the other clouds, you can do that on a per subnet basis, or you can do it in its entirety. You could say, I want everything from on-prem to advertise back to Oracle, but I want it to be blocked going to the other clouds. You can do it on the outbound, and you can do it on the inbound into the cloud. So very flexible, offers a fair amount of control on that MCR. It's a front end talking to a back end virtualized routing instance. And I think, yeah, so, and then we have latency. So if you do need latency, then, we can actually work with you and ensure that you get the best latency possible. In this case here, we're looking at, say, Frankfurt, NFRA 6, directly connected for Oracle. We've got AWS, GCP, and IBM. If you need Azure, that's just down the road. It's not far, but it's obviously not directly on net for that location. And then likewise in FR5, we've got 2 other regions, AWS and Google. And if you see here, IBM is connected back at FRA 6 if you need that. So, latency, you're talking, 1 or 2 milliseconds, for example, but it depends obviously on your deployments within every cloud service and the nature of what you're actually doing. But it's extremely low latency, especially where you're in the same meet me room or the same building. It becomes very, very fast. Right, so I'm going to go into the OCI console now. It's worth noting, though, that within the OCI console, what you could do in the past is actually connect to an existing Megaport. And what they've built now is the ability to actually connect, create your fast connect with an existing MCR. But you can now also build a new MCR from OCI, and you can also connect back to AWS. So what I'll do now, hopefully it's not kicked me out. This is the OCI portal. I will go into Amsterdam region. And the first thing we do here is we build the fast connect. So I create the fast connect. Take the port there. And I'm going to just call it AskTom2 because I was testing it earlier. I've already built a DRG in Amsterdam, so we'll use that one just to save some time. We'll select 1 gig capacity, and then I'll just use this generic text subnet information here already. And we'll do a private ASN of 65,000, and we click create. So now we've got a choice. If we click on complete connection. That will then offer a login to the Megaport portal. We can also connect separately into Megaport. And what you do then is you would take the service key here, you copy it, go into your Megaport, and you can deploy your Fast Connect from a virtual edge, an MCR, or from a Megaport. So what I'll do now is I'll connect there, and then I will just take that away. So you don't see me logging in. And it's very annoying because it's quite big. And yeah, so now I've logged into Megaport directly through OCI. Let's just go back up. And here you've got the choice. You can use an existing Megaport or MCR, and you can use an existing one. So what it's done now is pulled all the inventory, and these are all the MCRs that have been built in the Megaport accounts, which we use for demo purposes. And I create a new MCR. I will choose Netherlands because I'm close there. And then the region, the choice here is, we'll just say North Sea. It's an Ardemir near Schiphol. And then here you've got the choice of your term. Obviously, the longer term you commit to, the cheaper it is per month. And then within OCI, we've got the choice of connecting. And that's our interconnects are at Equinix AMS5. So we leave that as it is. Obviously, we've built a 1 gig Fast Connect, and the pricing is the same, but you could rate limit it here as well. So you could do 100. Because it's metro pricing, the costs are the same. So we could actually deploy that at 1 gig. It doesn't change the price to Megaport. But if you chose to connect to another location, Paris or wherever it may be, then because it's non-metro, you would then pay the additional costs for the connection from Amsterdam into Paris or wherever your location is. And then here it gives the option of connecting into AWS. So we say yes to that. And then I will copy my account ID here. And then we choose Netherlands. And it's worth noting that as much as it says Frankfurt, we connect locally, so we're getting the advantages of metro pricing. The reason it says Frankfurt is because AWS do not have a local region in that area. So what you do here, you connect locally in AM1, and then you use the AWS backbone to connect to Frankfurt where your services might be deployed. If we choose another location, there's nothing stopping you. Let's say France, and then these are all the interconnects that we have in Paris. So that's Voltaire, Par 5, and then we've got other connections there as well. That's a different type of connection. Let's just go back to Netherlands. And then obviously for demo purpose, we'll keep that 250 meg as well. Click next. I can't be greater than 1 gig, obviously. And then it will just ask me to confirm the pricing and the terms, and we click complete. And this will now just start deploying it. And this is where demos become not very interesting because it can take a few minutes to deploy. It says 50 minutes, but normally it's a lot quicker. I think at this point, Suzanne, any questions? I don't know if we have any at the moment.
No.
I think I can, no.
Not right now, thanks.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go into the portal and I'll refresh it. So this is our shared portal. And you should start seeing the Ask Tom services being deployed. There we go. So that's this Ask Tom 2. And then over time, you'll start seeing the VLANs into AWS and into Oracle. So deploy Oracle first. It's normally the quickest. And you'll see exactly what I've done now. You'll see that start deploying as well. And obviously, that's North Sea. And it just takes a few seconds to update. And I think that is it from my side, actually. I think if I go back to the slideshow, I think I just created some slides in case I had a problem. And there we go. And that's what it would look like as well. This is my manager who built this. You see the MCR, you see the Oracle connection, and then you see the service into AWS. And there we are. So that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Gary. No, we didn't have any questions as you were going along. Tammy back into the audience, but none yet. I mean, does any of you right now have any questions you'd like to ask Sherlock and Gary? Wait a minute. Well, you go ahead, Tammy, and talk about our usual Slack channel, and then we'll see if any come up. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. This is very educational for me as well, because for me, networking is always the magic and the way you put everything together and we communicate. For everybody that's on, if you have more questions and want some more discussion, we have an external Slack channel that is available to ask questions about our Exadata database services, our base database services, and of course, MultiCloud as well. So I would encourage you to join our external Slack channel and get in with all the other customers that have joined our Slack channel. Also on our Slack channel, we like to advertise new and upcoming capabilities, blogs, anything that's available that may help you with your solutions. So so now we have some Q&A. Unfortunately, we don't have any questions. You did too good of a job, Gary, explaining everything today. So we don't have any questions at this point in time. So I do want to thank you again very much, Gary and Sherlock, for joining us today. This has been very educational, and I am sure as we move along with more multi-cloud solutions, I look forward to working with you and our customers for these solutions. If anybody has joined us today and they would like to see a particular topic or us talk with our partners about a solution, please post a questions and ask Tom, and we'd be more than happy to do that as well. So Gary or Sherlock, any last minute comments or anything?
Just to say from my perspective, thank you again for inviting us. We have a really good relationship with Oracle. We would love to be engaged with any opportunities or any scenarios where you're looking to understand how we can deliver solutions to complex challenges, leveraging Oracle and Megaport, and we will be happy to do so. Gary and I are always accessible to deliver that kind of service back to you. So please use us and abuse us.
Well, we will. So thank you for that invitation.
Gary and Sherlock, I'd also like to thank you very much for your expertise today. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you.
Oh, let me see. There might have been another question. Oh, okay. Everybody says it's a great session. So see, Gary, you did too good of a job for the questions. I really appreciate that. Okay, so before we sign off, as you can see in my background, Cloud World is coming up in less than 30 days. If you have not had an opportunity to register, please go out and search on Google for Oracle Cloud World. We have 1,000 sessions, a lot of them on multi-cloud solutions, and hopefully Megaport will be there, I hope, and we will be able to also interact with all our partners at Cloud World, and so we look forward to discussing solutions out there. I'll be there. Please look me up if you have any questions. I would love to meet you as well. Okay, so with that, I want to thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and especially to Gary and Sherlock for joining us today and providing such great information for us to move forward with our solutions. So with that, I'll sign up, and we'll see you next month on Multi-Cloud Happenings. All right, bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.